accidents has happened throughout the human history since its invention. Though the car itself is a fairly recent invention, the first recorded accident involving them could have happened almost 300 years ago, depending on what your definition of a car is. Though it looked nothing like the modern cars you see on the road today, the very first accident involving an automobile is said to be one involving the creation of French inventor Nicolas Joseph Cugnot in 1771. Cugnot supposedly built the very first self-propelled mechanical vehicle capable of carrying passengers. Verbius' invention was literally intended to be nothing more than a toy for a Chinese emperor. As such, the final creation was far too small to accept passengers. Thus, Cugnot holds the title of creating the first known automobile that you could ride in. The story goes that sometime in 1769, Cugnot showed French officials his prototype design for a steam wagon capable of carrying cannons for the military. However, it wasn't until 1771 that Cugnot had a working prototype people could ride on. Cugnot then reportedly invited several French officials to join him on the maiden voyage. During the trip, the vehicle careened out of control and smashed into some unlucky person's garden, well at a nail-biting 2 miles per hour. However, some historians question whether this event actually happened due to scant direct documented evidence. To find a better documented accident, you actually need to travel 98 years into the future to 1869. On August 31st, in the city of Birr in Ireland, Mary Ward, a scientist and writer, had the unfortunate privilege of becoming the first known person to be killed by an automobile. On that day, Mary and 3 companions were enjoying a trip on a steam-powered carriage. While in motion, the carriage hit a bump, throwing Mary from her seat and into the path of one of the carriage's wheels, where she was crushed and instantly killed. Mary's death was reported the next day in the Kings County Chronicle, and a formal inquest was held to discover the cause of death and whether anyone was at fault. In the end, the jury decided that Ward's death was nothing more than a terrible accident, though the reason for the carriage suddenly jolting and throwing Mary to the ground was never discovered. This murderous steam carriage itself was invented by the pioneer of the steam turbine and Ward's cousin, Sir Charles Algernon Parsons, and his brother. Remarkably, Parsons was only 15 in 1869 when he invented one of the earliest precursors to modern transport. Parsons didn't just invent the Deathmobile, he and his brother were 2 of the passengers on board the carriage when Mary was killed. Luckily for the world, Parsons wasn't deterred from inventing by this terrible accident and went on to contribute massively to the world of engineering. It would take until 1896 for the first fatal accident to occur on English soil, whereas the first accident in the US occurred 5 years earlier than this in 1891. In the case of the former, the victim, Bridget Driscoll, was struck and killed by an automobile going 4 miles per hour. If you're wondering how Bridget was hit by a ruckus vehicle powered by explosions and fire, traveling slower than most people walk, according to witnesses of the time, Bridget saw the vehicle zigzagging towards her and simply froze out of either fear or utter confusion, which resulted in her being unable to get out of the way. As for the first accident to happen on American soil, this was decidedly less dangerous and ended with all parties leaving unharmed. The event occurred in Ohio in 1891, and it involved automobile legend John William Lambert. The accident itself was the result of Lambert hitting a tree root and swerving out of control. If only he thought to invent power steering first. So in the end, there are 2 possible stories about the world's first car accident. It's either a lady was horribly crushed in front of her teenage cousin by the invention he created in 1869, or a Frenchman smashed into a large stationary object at 2 miles per hour in 1771 and walked away unharmed. We really wish there was more direct evidence of the latter, because the first one is decidedly less humorous. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel. We will be uploading regularly. You can also support the channel on Patreon in the link below. Also, comment down below. What should we cover next? Until next time, peace out.